Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the life and times of Crazy Patrick. And I'm out here at Fort Selden today, and they're doing a demonstration showing you how to cook on it's called a Orto, spelled with a H. It's the old Adobe oven that the Native Americans used to bake bread and everything. I thought it'd make for a very interesting video. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start this up when they start doing their demonstration. I'll be right back.
Well, no, you'd have to. Yeah, they're actually typically they're built in. Let me say this.
Yeah, I think that's typically the last one.
Historically, what they're called fogags.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and they're
Typically with a large bench on one side and...
no, typically built into the corner of a room
Okay.
to begin with.
Well, they will be starting here for too long. They're going to do. I see they're going to do some cooking on a Dutch oven that looks like they're going to make a cobbler, and I don't know what all. So when they get to cooking and start doing their demonstration, I'll get back on here with you. Right here is where they're setting up the Dutch ovens.
Just like that.
I don't know if you can see that or not. He's got something cooking in that Dutch oven right there. Getting ready to set up another one over here. Got the coals going.
All right.
And it looks like it's going to be a cobbler.
It's
Yeah, an
gonna be
apple crisp.
an
A
apple
crisp.
crisp.
Apple. Oh, it's apples. Canned
Yes,
apples.
and they are actually homegrown and home canned.
Wow.
Yes.
You did all that yourself.
Yes, I did.
And I
did.
saw you putting that together, and you didn't measure anything. You did.
No,
You
you
did.
know what? I do them all up for my children, and so they get quarts of apples. I send them home with a dozen jars each. And then that way, you just dump them out and make. Yes, you can put it on there. And then we just make. You just add a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of sugar, and then and a little bit of ginger. We add, and then a little bit of butter, and then you just bake them. And it's a pie. You don't have to cook or peel apples or anything. They're ready to dump out.
Makes the crust and everything on
Well,
its
no,
own.
I
But you put that in there.
Yes, but then you just put the filling in, and you don't have to do anything. It's almost like buying an apple filling, but it's so much better.
Did you raise your own apples too?
We do.
Oh,
we
wow.
Do. And in fact, you're going to have chicken and dumplings, and all of the herbs in it, we raised ourselves also.
Oh, wow. And what do they call the oven? An Orto?
Orno.
Orno.
Horno.
Orno.
Orno.
Okay. Wow.
And we built one at our house. Dave did a workshop, and so we have one at our house.
Oh,
So
wow.
We're going to do Orno bread, and this is my dough rising bowl, and that's the dough.
Oh, it's almost
Oh,
double.
wow.
Yeah, it is.
Gonna make
We're
bread
gonna
in
make
the
bread,
oven.
Yes.
Oh,
Put
wow.
It on and put it in the oven, and we're going to
Are
have
you
bread.
going to make like
That's
little
amazing.
things of bread or?
I think
Loaves.
loaves.
We'll do loaves.
Loaves.
And then we're going to cut it. We've got butter and
Oh, cool.
And what do you have in the other?
chicken
Dutch
and
oven?
dumplings.
Chicken
And
and-
it's all homemade also.
Oh, wow. Chicken and dumplings. You did that. You did that
Right.
too.
Yes.
Homemade chicken and dumplings.
Yes,
Wow.
And so we're getting that ready. So you guys are going to have a treat. It's going to be good.
Wow.
I think
Well,
you'll enjoy it.
well, thank you so much.
Yes, sure. Oh my
And
gosh,
what's your name, ma'am?
My name's Gloria Tolman, and I was a 4-H leader for like 40 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
we've done with the fort for almost that many years.
Really?
But yes, well, probably 25 years. And we did programs with Dave that was here before, but we've continued to do it. And my 4-H kids come and participate, and they do a lot of the baking and cooking.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, and that's how they learned. But they're all experts at doing everything anymore. They're wonderful.
My grandchildren
Wow.
are 4-H
Well,
Oh,
that-
are they?
up in Wisconsin.
So interesting.
It's a wonderful program.
It is.
Wonderful
Oh,
program.
they travel all over.
My daughter was a national ambassador, and so she went all over and presented and did leadership everywhere, all over the country, and she even went to Alaska. Yeah, And then we even had, when my son was growing up, and he was in 4-H, we had IFE delegates, and they would, from other countries, and they came and stayed with us.
Oh,
So, yeah, we've done the whole gamut. It's
oh,
wonderful.
good for you.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun.
I bet. Yeah.
Well, this is so cool.
Isn't it just
Yeah, this is so neat.
Everybody that's helping today. This wouldn't be possible without Gloria and Rick Tolman. They really provided everything. So we really appreciate that. Yeah. What a turnout, huh? Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to be doing chicken and dumplings. We might keep the portions small. We didn't expect so many people, but that's great. We also have cowboy coffee. I see somebody or a few of you already got it. And then we're going to do an apple crisp. Gloria actually grew the apples herself and then canned them. So it's everything's basically from their farm. And then we're going to do, last but not least, bread in the Orno. And then here's our I guess, Orno expert, Dave Harkness. Yeah. So, about a month ago, we actually did a workshop on our Orno. We haven't fired it. I think it's been since the pandemic, so it's been a number of years. So this is pretty special, and it's kind of a shame not to use it. But one thing we did do about a month ago was we added a layer of plaster to it. It was looking pretty worse for wear, huh? Yeah, it's been about 10 years since it received one. But yeah, and what I found with Adobe is just how resilient and how easy it is to manipulate. Something that me and staff here this past week was we kind of fashioned a grill here, and what we'll do is we'll shovel some of the coals out and try and heat this up. It's still wet. You can actually see where it's still wet. But yeah, that was cool. Hopefully we'll be able to use this in the future, part of the food waste program. You notice we have our gardens here. We grew, gosh, what did we grow this year? We had tomatoes. The tomatoes didn't do too well, but we did chilies. We did squash, we did corn, beans, we had an herb garden. We had a group from Fort Bliss, a veterans group, come out with their grandkids, and they planted potatoes and onions kind of everywhere. So we had a lot of potatoes and onions, but that's something that we used. I did a salsa harvest workshop. A couple of you, I know, were here for that. But that's just part of the food waste program that we're trying to continue. And then if any of you are local, are we mainly from Las Cruces? Who traveled the furthest? Elephant Butte, okay. Ruidoso, okay. Well, if you are interested in volunteer opportunities, please talk with Emily, the young lady that checked you in. She's our instructional coordinator, and if you want an application, we'll definitely get you one. But we're trying to get our friends group started. It took a hit during the pandemic, and we're trying to get that going again. So it wouldn't be like you can see with our volunteers that we have here. It's almost impossible to do it without you. So, but let's get started. Well, I'll talk about the Orno a little bit, about Adobe. I attended a workshop the past 2 weekends with Dave here, actually building an Orno from the ground up. Does anybody have experience with Adobe or with an Orno? Okay, yeah. So basically, it's an oven, right? Adobe is just a combination of sand and clay. What about 15% clay? Yeah, 15%. Yeah, and then so you mix that up, and that's really the mortar. You get the material and you make the bricks. I have an example of a brick over here. You need to wash your hands later. It's just right underneath that water station. But they're about 30 pounds. It takes about 150 bricks to build one of these Ornos. So at 30 pounds, 150, that's 4,500 pounds right there. So these things they're not going anywhere, right? But yeah, so it was a really interesting workshop building an Orno, and it's something you really can do in your backyard. If you're interested in something like that, maybe talk to Dave. I'm sure you can pick his brain or talk to one of us. I don't know how many workshops you're going to have going on in the future. This man's retired, but possible if there's going to be ones in the future and you're interested, maybe get his contact info. But yeah, so then let's go into Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you. About Thanksgiving and how it ties to the fort, we all know what we learned, growing up in grade school and stuff, going back to the Pilgrims. But believe it or not, if it weren't for really the military, the U.S. military, that is, Thanksgiving really wouldn't be that piece of Americana that we know now. So it wasn't really until the Civil War that the Thanksgiving that we have today, that we know today. And it was, I guess, and I'll back up a little bit actually. The first real Thanksgiving was actually during the Continental Congress decided to declare several days of Thanksgiving to help inspire troops to victory. It was actually General Washington called for a day of Thanksgiving on December 18th, 1777, and then he actually made it an official holiday in 1789. It kind of disappeared. It really wasn't, it was more of an East Coast thing until about 75 years later when Abraham Lincoln established it as the last Thursday in the month of November. But it was really a way of bringing the country, together. As you know, like we could probably use more of that now. So really to the military is the reason why what we know, Thanksgiving as what it is today and how it attributes to the fort. Really right around that time, this is a post-Civil War fort, so Fort Selden was established in April of 1865, so it's still considered a post-Civil War fort. But you can imagine that the soldiers, they were doing these types of things. They're using it as a way to celebrate. And one thing I found pretty interesting in doing a little research on this, I couldn't find any primary sources as to what the soldiers here actually did. There isn't. I couldn't find any written record of it. We have written record of like 4th of July. We assume it would be somewhat of the same thing, kind of like a dance and a cook. But they really did out here rely on wild game to subsidize their diets. So one thing that I found interesting, I'll read you a little passage here, but it says, the great source of amusement, hunting in the frontier army, illustrates where soldiers spent Thanksgiving made a big difference in what they ate for dinner. And this 2005 article on the topic, James E. Potter outlined the way hunting was a common pastime for both enlisted and officers stationed in the American West. By supplementing the diet and providing recreation, Potter argued hunting improved the lives of the frontier army soldiers. In the 1860s and 1870s, even enlisted troops lacked the time in their day to enjoy the sporting aspects of hunting. They were able to benefit from the culinary standpoint at least. The holiday season especially was the time hunting became more urgent. While forts on the East Coast were able to benefit from railroad transport of a wide variety of foods, those out west had to rely on their own devices to create more lavish holiday meals. Boiled beef and salt pork were the standard army fare, and no one wanted to subsist on these for Thanksgiving. In 1874, a correspondent from Fort Sill, Oklahoma, reported that hunting party of 12 men provided the canteen with 156 turkeys, while still another group of officers provided 60 additional turkeys, 5 deer, 2 wildcats, and a bear. I don't know about wildcats. But at Fort Lyon, Colorado, a few years later, the 1871 Thanksgiving feast centered around buffalo. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now we're not serving wild game here, even as much as I would like to. The steak, there's red tape, but I think the chicken and dumplings will suffice. But yeah, again, thank you everybody for coming. If you have any questions about the fort specifically, please don't hesitate to ask me. I am an interpretive ranger here, and if anybody ever wants a guided tour, feel free to call the fort and we can set that up. And I definitely recommend, like I said, that this is going to be, this is going to take a little bit, but feel free to walk around and ask questions, or if you haven't done the self-guided walking tour, you'll have plenty of time to do that. But thank you guys again for coming. We really appreciate your support.
And then I'm going to set set that like that. And that's how I will set the door. Okay. In 15 minutes or so, this will be bone dry, and you better be done baking or re-wet it.
Real fast, yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll sacrifice your door. It's the same thing with this broom. This broom is used. When you're baking, you're not going to put bread in that oven right now, are you? You got to empty all of that wood out of it. And what we're going to do is move it into the comal over there. But to clean all that out, you do as much as you can with a hoe and a shovel, and then you sweep it out with a wet broom. And you better make sure this broom is wet, or you have got a torch instead of a broom.
Be looking like the Wicked
Water
Witch
is your
of the
friend
West.
in this case. And you'll hear when he clears this thing out, and he goes in there with that wet broom, you'll hear it, hiss and spit and everything else.
So you kind of steam your bread a little bit too.
It does wonderful things for crust.
Yeah.
And because you've got all the moisture on the back side of this, plus you're putting moisture in when you're cleaning the oven. And if you want, you could have a spritzer bottle and do that while it's baking. You could open it up and spritz.
Just spritz and then close it up again.
We're almost at 7. When should we?
Oh yeah.
Can we take it out?
What I do is kind of time it with the bread baker over there.
She said it's up to you. She said it's whenever.
If you're ready, we can. I haven't put the dumplings on yet. Are you ready for coffee? Almost.
How about we?
Well, we don't care about dumplings over here. Dumplings are your problem. Yeah, but we're running the oven. We don't do dumplings in the oven.
Bricks, did you say that took?
150.
And it's, how much does each brick weigh?
About 30 pounds. So just brick alone, it's 4,500 pounds. And then about another yard,
A yard of
material.
material for the plaster.
And that's probably
and
another
the
1,000
and the
pounds.
mortar. Yeah, that's another half ton.
Yeah. Just she said it's fine to take it out. Should we just put it right there?
Yeah, I would just shovel it from
If you guys don't mind, we'll back up a little bit because we're probably gonna get some ash.
Yeah.
I'm going to move your thermometer over here just for a second.
How long does it take to bake the bread in there?
It depends on how hot your oven is. I did 14 loaves in my last Orno workshop in 6 minutes. It was a hot oven.
Wow.
But they would, in the old days, they would call that a fast oven because they didn't have thermometers. And we don't have a thermometer on this. We do have an outside thermometer that we use for it. But yeah, typically you would like it to take 12 to 15 minutes for these size loaves. They're very small loaves.
Wow.
And I can pack usually 18 or 20 loaves in this on cookie sheets.
Wow.
In one firing.
That's a lot.
In one firing. But if you had them all lined, you could probably do 3 or 4 consecutive firings. Each firing is going to take a little bit longer because you're losing heat over the time, but they're still, even your 4th firing, your oven's going to probably be at 400.
So you don't leave any coals in it at all when
None.
you start baking?
None.
It's just
you
the
take
heat.
all the coals, all the ash, and you actually sweep it out with the broom,
And
with
it's
a wet broom.
And it's just all the heat that's from the Adobe.
It's all the stored, the energy that's stored in the mass. The Adobe provides the mass, the wood fire provides the energy, and it gets stored in that mass. When you remove the fire, all of that, the mass wants to equalize its temperature, so it radiates it back. And that's what's doing your baking for you.
I'll be done.
The bread right on the bottom or on the trays?
You typically put it on cookie sheets or some kind of a tray or something, or in a pan if you want a loaf shape to it. You put it into a pan like you would at home. Yeah, and the primary reason is that we're not baking flatbreads. We're baking yeast breads, and you can't handle yeast breads. But you're going to knock all the air out of them. They're not going to look very pretty by the time you get them in the oven, unless you put them on a pan, let them rise on the pan, and then move the pan. It's just like a cake, You got got to be careful or your cake will crash, right?
That's right.
Okay, it's the same thing, you know. It's just you can't abuse yeast breads. You have to be careful with them. Let them rise in the pan that they're going to bake in, or on the.
Oh, that's what she's doing.
That's what she's doing now. She's making the classic little round balls.
Yeah, and she's trying to let him rise a little bit.
Right. Yeah, she's trying to get it.
We got pulls out now for the broom.
Now the broom. Leave room for the broom.
Remember how you did it?
Make sure it's clockwise.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. If you didn't keep that wet, he'd go up like the Wicked Witch
Well,
of the
yeah,
West.
don't you think? Yeah, you could march to the tower and to go after the monster with the torch, you know.
I've seen this done and they used a wet rag.
Well, you must go through a lot of proof.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure, you know, that when Oñate came through here in, you know, the late 1600s, they didn't have straw brooms. They probably used whatever, you know, a rag or something.
You must go through a lot of brooms, huh?
Not really. I have a broom. That's my second broom in 10 years.
Really?
And because usually they're like this,
Yeah.
and you don't need this up here. You just kind of take the prune it, you know, into a point so you can get into the corners.
Yeah.
I just did that a couple weeks ago with that broom. So that first broom lasted 15 years. It's just, it got so close to here, it wore down. It wore down into here.
Okay.
And that's when I said it's time to retire.
Yeah.
They last a long time.
A lot. There's a lot to this.
Temperature.
I've got, I can't show you the door because the door's in. Okay, I'm going to slide this guy in. I'm going to put him over to the side. How many got? How many got?
And then stop it.
Did he say how long it Although it looks like the woman prepared everything.
Good to close it?
How long does it bake?
Till it's done.
Oh, okay. Just minutes or?
Yeah, about 10 minutes
Oh,
probably.
fast.
Yeah, with this oven, probably 10 minutes. You want to check it.
So you were just telling me about your oven.
Oh, that's true.
Come on, you.
Here, let me get you a glove. Let me get you a glove, excuse me. Oh, you do?
She says she wants him in this pan.
I've got a round bottom pan and I can't get it to stay still.
Wow.
All right. Are they ready? Some of them are. Those other ones.
They look done.
Red basket.
Oh, he's
right
gonna
here.
get
She's
it.
got the basket.
Well, I can't do that with a peel.
Oh, okay.
Let it sit there for a
You
minute.
think they're done, Gloria?
Thump it.
Yep.
Probably. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
You'll need a vacation after today.
I know.
Thank you, Dave. I found my granddaughter, and I'm
Wow.
gonna come back over here.
Yeah.
They're all done. I think they're done.
You want me to put them in the basket?
Yeah, they're all.
Well, guys, this is what it looks like. I wished I had smell-o-vision.
chicken and dumplings and fresh baked bread with fresh butter.
Healthiest little human.
All right, guys, and there is the apple crisp out of the Dutch oven. And it smells good too. Well, thanks guys for going with me to Fort Selden today and to the Orno baking demonstration. And let me tell you guys, that bread fresh out of that oven with fresh butter on it was absolutely fantastic. The chicken and dumplings, I believe, were the best I ever tasted. The lady even grew her own herbs that went in the chicken and dumplings. The apple crisp was to die for. So thanks again, guys, for going with me. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Give me those thumbs up, share. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you again on the next Crazy Patrick video.